Things have gotten pretty crazy on the men's side. I didn't expect to see a lot of the players out that are out after round one. Some of them. It wasn't about the tennis, but Marin Cilic got COVID. I woke up to the news that Matteo Berrettini got COVID. They're both out. Grigor Dimitrov hurt his leg this morning. And then even on the court, now, by the way, Dimitrov did play and he retired in his match, just for the record. He retired in the second set after winning the first. Even on the court, it hasn't been simple for a lot of these guys. Wasn't simple for Djokovic or Nadal against Cerundolo today, or Nick Kyrgios, who went 5 sets with Paul Jubb earlier today. It's been nuts. So we have to kind of revisit things. I'm just going to riff. I'm just riffing here. Let's revisit the draws and let's talk a little bit about the day 2 action on the men's side. First, just some thoughts on Berrettini and Cilic. I mean, this sucks. This is the tournament of opportunity for Marin Cilic especially, because this is his best surface and he's coming off the surprise run to the semifinals in Paris. But for Berrettini, after missing the entirety of clay court season with the injury, now, you know, he has an incredible grass. I don't call it a season. I don't want to call it a grass season. It's 2 weeks. How is that a season? That's not a season. Berrettini wins back-to-back titles on grass, coming into Wimbledon, made the final last year. 32-3, I believe, is the grass court record since 2019 for Berrettini. Man. And he gets COVID. Brutal for both of them. Tennis has been pretty fortunate with COVID. In fact, last year, while the NFL was getting destroyed, MLB was getting killed, NHL was a mess, all these team sports in the U.S., and I think Premier League also, if I remember correctly, was a mess. All these sports getting like really heavily affected by COVID last year. I fully expected tennis to be along for that ride. It actually wasn't. I was expecting that there was going to be some tournament at some point that was going to get hijacked by COVID positives. Didn't actually happen. Can't remember a high-profile quarterfinal, semifinal, final not moving forward, not being played. And that was when the tournaments were doing mandatory testing. Nowadays, players might have COVID, and I don't think this is good behavior, but they might just not get tested and they might keep playing and then we'll never know about it, right? And Alizé Cornet said that this has been going on. But last year when the tournaments were testing, I fully expected this to be an issue. It actually wasn't. Miraculous. Very fortunate. Really, you know, very lucky. This is kind of now the first time where it's really affecting things, really affecting Wimbledon 2022. You have to say, because Berrettini, one of the favorites. Cilic, I power ranked at number 7, if I remember correctly. So that stinks. I feel for both of them. Let's talk about Cressy beating FAA. So Berrettini, let's just go through this now. Berrettini was Nadal's probable or projected, I'll say probable semifinal. Cilic was his probable 4th round, Nadal. FAA was his probable quarterfinal, lost to Cressy. Look, we knew, and I said coming into that match, it was my popcorn match. The margins are going to be tiny. It's going to come down to a couple of points, and that's grass court tennis when it comes to two serve dominant players, really, but especially Cressy being such a serve dominant player. You look at Felix's return stats throughout his career and, you know, his serve return splits. You got to remember, this is a serve dominant player. So I expected tie breaks. And that means small margins. And that's exactly what happened. We got 3 tie breaks. And in those tie breaks, they were all decided by one mini break. And all of those mini breaks came late in the tie breaks. In the first set, oh, and by the way, I'd love to tell you that the mini breaks came because somebody made a great return or a great passing shot or a spectacular scramble. No, mistakes. All this match was, at least if we zoom in on the key moments, was mistakes. First set tiebreak, Cressy had a few loose points, but it was 5-6 on serve in the first set tiebreak. Cressy hit a good serve, got a sitter. Felix's return landed like in the middle of the service box, and Cressy obviously serve volleying, as he does. He was right there. So it was a ball that you can put away. If not, you put Felix under an immense amount of pressure to make a difficult pass. Cressy did none of the above. He had continental grip because he was expecting to get a volley, and he didn't change to his forehand grip. And that's what made it tough on him. So he just kind of punched it into the backhand side of Felix, and Felix hit a 2-shot pass. Didn't do enough with the sitter. So that's kind of the mistake that decided the first set. Going to... now, Cressy won the second set without a breaker. Going to the third set, Felix on set point, double faults. By the way, key to the match for Cressy. One of the big issues with him is he has been pretty bad from February until here in June. Pretty bad. Double faults have been an issue for him. You know, that two first serve strategy, it can really be a problem in some of his matches. 8 double faults for Cressy in this match. That's great. That's phenomenal. He was hitting his second serve huge. 8 double faults. Exceptional. Massive key. You know, there were too many games for Cressy. You know, we know that he doesn't return that well. Too many games he's hitting 2 double faults. And he's got to look at his peers like Isner and Opelka. And he needs to try to get his second serve to a place where it's big, it's great, but he's not racking up double faults. He's got to try to get there, especially because he comes in behind it. How good does it really need to be? Anyway, he needs to have more performances like he did today. Fourth set, 5-all. FAA misses an attacking inside-in forehand. There's the unforced error. Mini break. Cressy, serve and volley. Lights out. Great to see him winning again. Great to see him doing well on the grass. He can really be good for the game as a strategic novelty. And I think he draws a lot of interest because of that. Deservingly so. I'm a fan. So I'm glad that he's doing well again because he did disappear for a while there. All right, Cressy beats FAA. So now let's stay in Nadal's quarter, and let me just hit on Nadal's win against Cerundolo. Similar overall feelings as I had when with the Alcaraz win, really. You know, you can like put the form under a microscope and try to be critical, like, oh, Nadal didn't look good. How terrible. I can't bring myself to do that. First round, first match on grass in 3 years, a history of slow starts at Wimbledon. And his opponent's playing incredible. That's the key. That's why I give Alcaraz a thumbs up. That's why I give Nadal here a thumbs up, is because their opponents were awesome. The level was really high from them. And when that happens in the first round in a major, you got to win. That's the goal here. You got to win. You could lose if your opponent's playing that well. They both won. That's the key. to go into just a little bit of detail with the match, I mean, Cerundolo's forehand was unconscious. He's got an exceptional forehand, and it took over the match. Nadal was tentative, little defensive, lacking confidence, didn't serve very well, didn't serve well enough or return well enough to really keep the ball away from Cerundolo's forehand. But it was ridiculously good. And that shot was the best forehand on the court, which you don't often say in a Nadal match, and the best shot on the court. And Nadal wasn't able to neutralize it, make Cerundolo defend enough because he wasn't quite confident enough off the ground. But what did Rafa do? You know, he stayed the course, he stayed calm, and he probably knew that Cerundolo was eventually going to cool off, and that's what happened. It went from red hot, the forehand, to ice cold, and all the winners turned into unforced errors, and suddenly, this was late in the fourth set, boom, Nadal won the match. I mean, it happened really, really quickly, you know, from Nadal's being outplayed for the third set, and then a lot of the fourth, to suddenly it's, oh, Nadal is serving for the match. I mean, it happened really quickly. And then, you know, in general, to assume that this is going to be Nadal's form moving forward is very silly. I mean, that's rarely how it goes. Rarely. It's just not how it works at Wimbledon, but at any major for these guys. I mean, we know the heights that they often get to, and when they're not there in the first or the second round, it doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. All right, let's take a look at these draws, okay? Let's just go section by section here. Let's begin. I mentioned that Dimitrov got injured, so let's just take a look at this quarter because it can get pretty wild. Casper Ruud is the top seed. He plays Hugo Humbert, so a lefty who has a really good slice serve and an offensive game, and his best surface, not even close, is grass. That, to me, is a very 50-50 match. Very 50-50. So could lose the 3 seed there. But you got to say, I mean, again, this quarter has a lot of strong unseeded players. Bublik, Goffin, Humbert, Stevie Johnson even, Adrian Manarino, Vesely, Yuri Vesely. Whoa, that's a great collection of unseeded players. Phenomenal. But, you know, who's going to make a major semifinal? And who's going to make the Wimbledon semifinal? And now you start to look at these names. Okay, who are the seeds? Norrie, Tiafoe, Paul, Baez, and Ruud. It's going to be a weird semifinalist. I mean, not too weird, but Norrie's never been past a third round at a slam. Tiafoe has, I think, one quarterfinal in his career, no semis. Ruud is just it would be a massive surprise if he did this on grass. Nobody's expecting that. Baez has no experience on the surface. Tommy Paul has not been even in good form. And obviously, you know, being the 30 seed, I mean, man, tough to say what's going to happen here. So here's what I'll go with. All right, I have to update my pick, I guess, because during the mailbag, I said I picked Dimitrov, and then he gets injured. So much for that. Now for the third time after, remember, Davidovich Fokina beats Hurkacz, and that's what has opened up this quarter more than anything. So for the third time on day 3 of Wimbledon, I need to change my pick here in the quarter, or update my pick, and I will go with Tiafoe. I am sorry, Francis. I don't mean to do this to you, but I'm going to have to do this to you, and I'm going to have to make my pick Francis, who I always had coming out of the top half. Again, I just think, yeah, I look at Tiafoe as the most offensively capable at his best in this section on grass. And it's pretty much as simple as that. But it's going to be hard. I mean, you know, this is pretty up in the air over here. Let's take a look now at Tsitsipas's quarter. He did not look impressive against Alexander Richard. I guess I should afford him the same leeway that I did Nadal and Alcaraz, but it's a little different. I mean, he's been playing on grass for 2 weeks now. I believe it's 2. If it's 3, I apologize. But he's been playing on... No, it is 3. He's played 3 grass events. Okay, it is 3. Less of an excuse. By the way, Richard, this was his first main draw match, and I thought he looked like it. He is no Jan-Lennard Struff. He is no Francisco Cerundolo. So, honestly, no. I don't feel the same way about the Tsitsipas match. I thought it was disappointing, and I feel worse about Tsitsipas after the match. I do. Took 4 sets, won it 7-6, 6-3, 5-7, 6-4. So Tsitsipas moves through. But in this quarter, it is Berrettini being replaced at the very top by Ymer, who Garin ended up beating in straights. Elias Ymer, that is. And you have another quarter where it's very unclear who the favorite is. I did have Kyrgios beating Tsitsipas, but then losing to Bautista Agut. But I will say, Bautista Agut doesn't match up well with Shapovalov. I thought Shapovalov would lose to Rinderknecht. That one went 5 sets. Shapo came through. Or I don't know if I thought he'd lose, but I thought he might, at least. Shapo came through, and now he's got another tough one in Nakashima. So, tough draw for Dennis. If we get Shapo RBA, the rhythm that RBA gives Shapo, really, Dennis loves that. And RBA's attack goes to Shapo's forehand. RBA is an ad court attacker, not a deuce court attacker. It's forehand. It's a lot of forehand inside out, backhand cross court. That's how he builds rallies. He doesn't hook the forehand cross court as well as he does, go heavy down the line when he tries to attack. Everything goes to the forehand, Shapo's forehand. So it's a good matchup for Shapo. That's something to keep in mind. I don't know. Is he going to catch fire? Can I say that I have, changed my tune on Shapo? Not really. I'm just saying that's a good matchup. De Minaur is the player who I'm most excited for this opportunity. Berrettini goes out. De Minaur has been playing very inspired tennis from the start. Best clay court season of his career, best Australian Open of his career. Really looked good at the ATP Cup, beat Berrettini there. I just think the grass helps kind of neutralize his power deficit. He's really good coming forward. His serve becomes more effective because he hits good spots, but it's not very fast. He's a great... That's the player who I'm most excited for when it comes to who can take this opportunity. Maybe Brooksby too. It'll be interesting on the top half, but definitely whoever makes the quarterfinal in the bottom half between Tsitsipas, Kyrgios, RBA, and Shapo, they will probably... I won't even say that, actually. I don't even know. I was going to say that they'll probably be the favorite in the quarterfinal, but I'm not really sure. Okay, so I guess I also need to update a pick here. I'm really unexcited to do it. I don't feel strongly about this quarter at all at this point. I am going to pick with... And by the way, Draper De Minaur in the second round. It's a tough one for Alex. I should definitely acknowledge that. My pick is, and I hadn't decided before the video, I'm gonna go with Demon. I'm gonna go with De Minaur. And I thought hard about RBA. And at this point, I'm even thinking that Tsitsipas could grind his way to the semifinal. It could happen. All right, and then lastly, Nadal's quarter. We have gone over it, all of the upsets there. Fritz is the player who's really flying under the radar. Nobody's really talking about him because he hasn't built, any results. Comes back, loses to Van Riethoven right away in Hertogenbosch. Missed the clay court season with the, I think it was a foot, if I'm remembering correctly. I think it was a foot injury. But he's still got a really big game. He's still having a terrific 2022 when healthy. So he's the 11 seed. So he matches up nicely with Nadal with the really strong backhand. Do I think he's a really big threat for Nadal? Or no, I don't. Oh, yeah, no, I don't. And by the way, they couldn't play until the quarterfinal. But I wanted to give Fritz a shout. He beat Musetti in straight sets. Wanted to give him a shout. But right now, this section has certainly gone from awful on paper for Nadal to really, really good on paper for Nadal. Simple as that. Obviously, Rafa, my pick to win Wimbledon, remains my pick to come out of this semifinal. All right, that's it for my riffing. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.